Ladies, and a few gentlemen, I hope, welcome to all who have chosen to join Novatore at its series' inaugural lipstick lunch. Let me shortly introduce Novatore. My co-founder, Dagny Alenia, and I, Baiba Rubesa, decided to launch an organization dedicated to women's economic empowerment and leadership by connecting, supporting, and driving the like-minded. So that means all of you. For more details, I encourage you to dive into our website, www.novatore.eu. Now, one of our initiatives is based on advocacy to enlighten ourselves and decision makers on issues that hinder or drive women's economic empowerment. Today's presentation couldn't be more topical, as the impact of the COVID pandemic strikes at the heart of all risks and consequences related to this issue. But first, technicalities. The session will last no longer than half an hour. Our speakers will present their topic for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then you have the opportunity to comment or question. These comments can be posted either in the chat function at the bottom of the Zoom screen or on our Facebook page connected to this session. Should we run out of time to respond to all questions, we will follow up on as many as possible on Facebook's novatore.eu site. Later today, a recording of this lipstick lunch will be open to everyone on our Facebook page, Novatore.eu, for you to listen to again or share. And tomorrow, you can connect to it on our YouTube side. So without further ado, let me introduce today's speaker, Kristīne Jarve. She is a seasoned partner at Deloitte, heading up Deloitte's Lithuanian and Estonian businesses. Over the years, we've noticed her profound commitment to gender equality in the workplace. As a founding member of Lidere, an organization that brings together more than 100 C-suite female leaders in Lithuania, and as Deloitte's unique women's Shikso club leader in Latvia. And I must admit, I forgot to ask her how to correctly pronounce S-H-E, she-X-O. Kristine will speak about understanding the pandemic's impact on working women. So Kristine, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Baiba. It is my pleasure to be here. I'm very happy to open the series of talks, which I hope will inspire many female future leaders. Let me talk about a survey we have done in Deloitte with an aim to understand how pandemic has impacted the lives of women. If I could ask for slideshow to start, and while we arrange that, let me shortly introduce what the survey was about. So basically we surveyed women, professional women, so women who used to go to office every day in 9 different countries. About 400 women were interviewed with an aim to establish how pandemic has affected their lives. We tried to understand if they believe there will be any changes in their future career prospects from the pandemic's impact. We try to also understand if there's anything employers could do to support them. So let me introduce the results of this survey. And to start off, I need to say that pandemics has affected us all. We have gotten into a remote work environment. I'm also currently at home, effectively in my son's room, because this was the best lighting available in my house. And we try to juggle these things. We try to work and do our best in these circumstances. We see that work and life balance of women have been affected. That in turn actually has had an impact on physical and mental health. And we believe it will also impact future career prospects of women. So let me show you some statistics from this survey. So if we could move to the next slide, you will see that before pandemic, only 1% of women we interviewed were working in full-time home office. Once pandemic started, that number rose to 37%. And here I'm talking about full-time home office. The rest experienced similar things like I do when I work some days from home office, some days from the office. We also saw that only 16% of these women we spoke with had major caregiving responsibilities before pandemics. So taking care of our elderly parents or ill family members. When pandemic hit, that number rose to 48%. In addition, women with children report that they have increased child care responsibilities, increased home education responsibilities, and that of course is taking a toll on their mental and physical health as well. The most worrying part of the survey was that 48% of all women said they believe they are forced to be always on. Always accessible, always approachable for their colleagues. They felt that they need to respond to emails almost immediately, sometimes outside working hours. If they were not able to do that, they felt that they are actually letting their teams down. And all of that, if we now look how this has impacted women, if we move to the next slide, it's clear that they believe that it will have impact on their future work prospects. We see women considering, do they want to stay in the work environment at all? 10% have said that they're considering a career break or leaving working altogether. We see women who believe that their career progression will be impacted by pandemics. We see that quite a few believe that they will not be promoted in the upcoming years. And interestingly, majority of those who have felt these negative impacts from pandemic, they believe that their male colleagues are not affected by the same extent. There's some positives from this survey as well. If we go to the next slide, we can see that women are actually looking at quite, well, they believe if they would do what is required, what they really are expected to do by their employers, they could get a career progression in upcoming years. So 52% said that they actually know exactly what needs to be done for them to progress. Out of those, I must say, some said, I'm not sure if I want to, because I understand what it really will require from me, how difficult it will be. 47% say they believe that they will have a pay increase in future, and women are extremely loyal to their employers. We see that 2/3 of women are ready to stay with their existing employers for longer periods of time, anywhere between 2 or more than 5 years. In addition to looking at this impact, we are also asked what actions can employers take? And yes, let's move to the next slide. We have 6 very practical steps which our employers could actually take to support women in this regard. And first is flexible working. When I talk about flexible working, it's not working like we do now, when we do a couple of days in a home office, couple of days in an office in a city. No. This is about having flexible hours. So that women could do their work at the time which suits them. Potentially work longer hours one day and not work next day. Maybe even take a part-time employment. Or even have something like job sharing arrangement. Here, the most important point which everyone is raising is that how do we make sure that when they do choose these flexible arrangements, they are not hit by career penalty? So employers really have to think how to address this fear that if I do choose a flexible arrangement, that will mean that my career will stall and not progress at all. Next, women implied that we need to have supervisors who are leading with empathy and trust. And here they're saying, we would like someone to check in with us on quite regular basis to ask us, how are you feeling today? Are you okay? So this is not about to-do lists or projects. This is really inquiring, do they have everything together to do their work properly? They believe if such check-ins would happen, it would be much easier to address any issues they are facing in their either private or work lives, and also support them in doing the best job they can do. Networking, sponsorship, those have been topics which were very important before pandemics as well. Now women say, how do we make sure that they don't get lost, don't get sort of stuck because everything is remote? They're saying, how do organizations really make this continue in the remote working environment? Many of the women said they really know how to progress, and that is requiring new skills. So organizations which will be able to offer learning opportunities, and in this case, learning opportunities which actually fit the schedules of women, will win in the long term. There's a point about unconscious bias. Women still believe that rewards and promotions are subject to unconscious bias, and this is something which organizations really need to address. And last, but definitely not the least, women who we interviewed, they said, yes, our organizations have diversity policies, inclusion policies. Question is not so much about having a policy or not, but following policy. Some of the women said they actually experienced microaggression in the workplace. Some said they have been left out of important calls. They haven't been invited to participate in interesting projects. And of course, that will have impact on their future careers. So in this sense, they're saying, well, walk the talk, implement the policies, make sure they're actually implemented in life and followed. To sum it all up, it's clear that pandemics has impacted us all. It's clear that it is taking a toll on our mental health, on our physical health, and it might affect also future career prospects of women. It is in the hands of organizations to actually do something about this. So Baiba, thank you. I'm sure you have some questions for me.
Kristine, I think you should imagine about 100 pairs of hands, if not more, applauding away, or emojis of the applauding hands. That was quite an interesting presentation. The first question has already flown into our chat box. And actually the question from the Netherlands is, could you please tell us more about the survey participants? How many participants were they? Are they in the Baltics, the age range, etc.?
So survey, it didn't happen in Baltics. It was 9 countries across the world. So US, UK, some countries in Asia. All in all, we interviewed just under 400 women, and their positions ranged from executive assistant to vice president in a company. Companies were quite large in size, so at least 1,000 employees or more. And as I said, these are women who go to office workers, if you think about that, or used to go to office when we could.
So tell me, in your estimation, you know, I know that this is guessing, but how precisely or how correctly do you think that these results resonate in Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania?
Well, I can give you an example. What we did, and it's not in Baltics, but the closest to us is Poland, where we run a similar survey a bit later. And I think the survey covered a similar amount of women, actually 350 at least. And the results of the survey were amazingly similar to the ones which we got from other countries. I would guess that it resonates. I'm even thinking about myself. My life has turned upside down since pandemics. I mean, I used to travel between 3 countries on a regular basis. I was home for weekends. That was my time with family. And now it's totally flipped. I'm managing everything from home. It's virtual meetings all the time. And I can actually, it resonates with me. These results resonate for sure.
Okay, I would like to ask the people that are listening on our Lipstick Lunch, does this resonate with you? And I will remind you, you can ask questions or comment in the chat box at the bottom of the Zoom screen or on your Facebook page, on our Facebook page, sorry. Let me ask you another question. It is clear that the ongoing pandemic has negatively impacted women's professional development and choices. But if the experience of the pandemic should shift our way of living and maybe also working in the long term, do you think this could also be beneficial for women? And
I hope so. And I think that this is up to us as employers, as organizations who actually employ women. It's for us to change our working ways. It's not about changing women. It's not about changing their circumstances. It's very hard to change the fact that you have children, you have to take care of them. It is very much about these flexible working arrangements, different way of doing things. And I see it already. I mean, we at Deloitte, we adopted very quickly. We were ready to start remote working within first days of a pandemic. We had to meet with many challenges, and actually the hardest part was to really lead remote teams. Mm-hmm. How to keep team spirit, how to keep people engaged, and also to start appreciating that, yes, it's okay if the kid runs into the room while you're speaking within the meeting. And it's okay to say, sorry, I have to address this because, you know, I don't know what my 5-year-old is going to do in kitchen now. So I think we all become more adapted to the new situation, and there will be benefits from it. I think we also see the positives. We save so much more time on commuting, for example. That can go into doing other things, either in your private life or work life.
I should add that in the chat, Yekaterina has commented that this certainly resonates in the Baltics. So many trends are recognizable. I know that in one of the companies where I'm on the board, I've had men also talk about the very same issues, though I deeply believe that many of these issues resonate more deeply with women because they tend to take on more responsibility. Just by nature of where we are in Latvia, we have 31% single mothers at home with children, and a lot of them are trying to work from home while taking care of small kids most of the time, which is rather challenging. But as everybody else contemplates some good questions and comments for Kristīne, I have one a little bit beyond the pandemic question. And that is that you are a founding member of Līdere, which is an organization that brings together more than the 100 C-suite female leaders in Lithuania. And I'm guessing that some of them are listening right now. And Deloitte's She XO club leader in Latvia. What do these organizations do? And what do you believe is the value of professional organizations that bring women together?
I think I could give you a bit of a background why I was interested in starting those initiatives. I being a professional woman myself and working in an environment where you have majority of male colleagues, you sometimes feel very alone. You need someone to talk to, and sometimes a male colleague will not understand, or some things which worry you will not resonate. And I actually would claim that they get just as stressed as we. They get to deal with same situation. But I think men are much better at saying, "Oh, I never get stressed. It doesn't bother me." I think we are more open to actually admit that. So the feeling was that we need to bring together women who have progressed in their careers or who are on the way to progress in their careers, and to actually provide networking, provide potentially mentoring support, and have an outlet where people can actually share and engage and discuss and support each other. So I think what I really see that women are ready to support other women. So I think all those comments that women don't like other women in the workspace and so on, I actually disagree. We are very good at supporting each other.
Yeah, now we just need to step up and be more verbal about what we would prefer. I have a very different kind of question that one of my team asked. Would you be kind enough perhaps to share practical advice for women who wish to be in charge of their professional development or better their chances at professional success? You're a successful woman. I know you have a lot of successful colleagues around you. What would you advise?
There are so many things, but on top of my mind, I think we need to speak up more and share our achievements. I think women very often think my boss will notice how great I am. Everybody should see how good job I do. But the reality is that unless you really advocate for yourself, unless you really show people what you have achieved, it's very likely that your achievements will not be noticed. And I know how much women don't like elevator pitches and similar topics, but I think we should realize that this is the work environment we work in. You should be able to say what you have done and to show that you are great, that you're ready for this next position, and sometimes step up. I think women are very much into thinking that, okay, I need to have at least 7 out of 10 attributes to even consider the next position. And remember, this research shows for men, it's usually 3, and they think, oh, I'll try. So be more ambitious and speak up.
Okay, I think that's fantastic advice. I could only concur with it from my experience. We have a question that's come in from Facebook. It says, how to keep a balance between the private and business life as working hours are becoming longer. Moreover, how should you let colleagues know that because you are home, you are not available 24/7? And in your experience, is the above, in other words, availability 24/7 expected of men as well?
This is a difficult question, which we see from this survey as well. It feels like everyone has assumed that since we are working from home and there's nothing really else to do, that you are at home and hence available fully and should be responding to emails immediately, should be available outside working hours and so on. I think it's about drawing the boundaries and actually agreeing with your supervisors on how you want things to happen. I think everyone has become more empathetic. I hope so, at least, that we see that it's difficult. We see that people are struggling. We are starting to really listen to our employees and starting to really trying to step in their shoes and see how their life is organized. So I think open discussion is the main thing to show that, yes, you have other responsibilities, but there are other things in your life. And to be honest, if we would work 24/7, we will burn out. And that's another part which needs to be discussed. We see that the pandemic is taking toll on mental health. We see that there are people who are really feeling overwhelmed. And even with surveys, the reason women are considering leaving workplace is because they feel that they cannot cope. It's too much. It's too much of work requirements, too much of requirements at home, and they are getting burned out.
Therefore, the next question would be, what do you think about companies that offer professional mental health support during this time?
I think it's brilliant. I think I wish every company could afford to do that, and they should try to do it, because I see that people need it. I think there's another point maybe which is not mentioned. Female leaders currently have a bigger responsibility on them, in the sense that people who have issues, they very rarely go to a male leader and share how they feel. They're more open towards a female leader. And I experience myself that you get people who are concerned, they have difficulties, they actually come, and you become almost like a mom in a sense to someone, or yeah, very good friend or listener, just to address those issues. So yes, if we could, I think we should really introduce support in terms of mental health professionals. It's just as important. Mentoring was important. Now I would say this is on the top of a priority list.
Kristīne, in the name of equality, Anda Chumantova asks, has a similar survey been done for men? Because it would be interesting to compare how the pandemic has impacted working men, if they face similar or different challenges.
We at least haven't done it, and I haven't really seen much research on this. I think if you look at the research which has been done, I think Harvard Business Review has something and so on. They are looking at general impacts on our populations from pandemic, but no, not so specific towards working men per se. But I agree, it would be very interesting to see if that resonates, if it's really so that women take the most childcare chores or not. And to compare, because remember, in this survey, women thought that men have less of an issue, but it's their feeling. We haven't heard from men.
The last very concrete question. Lana Grassman writes, I think there was some statistics about the percentage of women who felt they needed to step down from their current job. Would it be possible to know the percentage of women who loved their current job, who felt they needed to step down? To understand a percentage for whom the situation is a reevaluation of their priorities and for how many the stepping down is not a choice. Do you know if there is such sort of a difference?
They're not per se in such detail, but the questions we asked have an indication on that. There's quite a few of women who say, yes, we know how to progress in our careers, but do we really want to? Because we see that it will be very difficult on us, on our families, and are we sure? Meaning, am I really sure I'm ready to step up and do this? So it's clear that quite a few women are questioning, even if they know what to do, whether they want to. And that is worrying part, really. Mm.
So before we come slowly or very quickly to the end of the first lipstick lunch, my most important question to you, what do you think about lipstick?
Oh, I'm wearing lipstick now. I think it's been 6 months since I wore lipstick before, so it took me time to actually find it. I thought I need to make sure that I have lipstick on for lipstick lunch. I'm not a big fan. On everyday life, I wouldn't actually use a lipstick. Lip balm is better.
Okay. And on that tone, first of all, thank you to Kristīne Jarve for a very interesting half hour. I'd like to thank all of you who have joined us today. And please join us tomorrow at 12 o'clock for an interesting intervention by the head of NASDAQ, Daiga Auziņa-Melauksne, about the reality of gender balance on Baltic boards. Thank you, and until the next time, goodbye.